The moon is in Leo and the sun is in Virgo. What does that mean? Let's get straight into it. Leave a like and subscribe. Use the links down below. And Leo is fixed fire, ruled by the sun, and it comes from the fifth house. Fixed fire means fixed, consistent, or stubborn imaginations, visions, feelings, creativity, spirituality, expressions, uniqueness, and individuality. And all those things can be translated in forms of actions, expressions, and visions, how you see the world, and how you think others see the world and yourself in your own consistent, fixed, or stubborn way. Being ruled by the sun means a focus in visions, actions, and expressions that come mostly from standpoints associated with your uniqueness, individuality, authority, spirituality, and perspectives filtered a bit more through a logical and external based perspectives. Being from the fifth house means a focus in attention, pleasure, entertainment, validation, and once again, individuality, uniqueness, and also entertainment. So you can see all of the components of Leo deal with, at least on a common ground, uniqueness and individuality. So that's a big part of Leo energy. The moon in itself represents emotions, feelings, the internal and subconscious realm, because sometimes you are aware of the internal realm, so it's not subconscious, but there is still parts of your internal realm that you are not aware of, so that's subconscious. Also, the moon represents your reactions, your responses, and what you are attracting and how you are reacting those things and how you are reacting and responding to your attractions. So, moon in Leo means fixed or stubborn feelings, emotions, attractions, responses, and reactions. Also, because of the sun element and the light that it can give, the awareness it can give, moon in Leo also represents fixed or stubborn awarenesses of the subconscious realm, because there is a bit more light, a bit more logical, a bit more common sense being thrown by you or others into your subconscious realm. And all those stubborn or fixed emotions and feelings, for an example, are coming to you or being seen by you in a more clear, egotistical, creative, sentimental, expressive, prideful, and also looking for more emotions, feelings, and spaces that make you feel comfortable in your entertainment, pleasure, and attention. With the sun in Virgo, there is a fatal attraction between the moon in Leo and the sun in Virgo, so it's easier to integrate or get confused by those two energies. So it's easier to get fixed or stubborn emotions and feelings about uniqueness, pleasure, and entertainment into yours or others' mutable or scattered routines, patterns, work, responsibilities, organization, work, stress, and health. It's also easier to bring realistic, practical, efficient, and mutable views, actions, and expressions to yours and others' fixed or stubborn emotions about pride, pleasure, validation, attention, and entertainment. It's also a bit easier to bring stress, paranoia, worry, and obsession with detail to feelings, emotions, and emotional spaces or real spaces that makes you feel comfortable or attract pleasure, attention, pride, and validation. It's also easier to be a beacon of spiritual, creative, and egotistical light and structure to you and others when it's about mostly routines, work, stress, and organization. Also, it's possible for you to bring pleasure and validation in a consistent or stubborn way to your mutable routines and others' mutable routines or mutable perspectives about routines, safety, and organization. Also, it's a bit easier for you to accept you and others sacrificing individuality, creativity, and spiritual ways and spiritual values to prioritize and avoid conflicts in your work, stress, health, and organization. But keep in mind that sacrificing your uniqueness and your spiritual perspectives and values will bring more stress and will most likely decline your health mentally, emotionally, or physically. There is also a chance that through the moon in Leo and sun in Virgo energetical integration, you can create a consistent and realistic sense of pronoia, the universe working for you and with you, especially in things that you personally care about. And it can be about responsibilities, entertainment, attention, creativity, individuality, or being flexible in your structures and limits and boundaries. Also, you might be looking for realism or reality fidelity in your movies, shows, or entertainment in general. Also, in other people's story and testimonies. Just make sure that that does not ruin the fun, but especially when it's about documentaries or other people talking about their experience in a form of an advice, make sure to use the sun in Virgo to have more flexible but also realistic and practical perspectives so you can call on the BS and you can stop the cap. And as usual, I took a tarot card for today's energy. And the tarot card for Moon in Leo, Sun in Virgo 2025 is the fire card, 10 of wands. So this means a lot of fire, an accumulation of fire, and it can get too heavy or it can be very bountiful. So you can feel stressed, you can feel like you can't handle it, or you can feel rewarded. You can feel finally after the hard work I accumulated all of this. So you can feel the ability to like rest or enjoy the place that you are, or you can feel like going down because of the extra weight. So it's up to you to interpret how you're going through these energies. But what is a lot of fire? What is too much fire? It's a lot of imaginations, feelings, desires, creativity, spiritual perspective, spirituality, just passion, aggressiveness, motivation, frustration, and deep desires in general. Just perhaps too much energy in general, too much electricity within you or in the environment around you, too much maybe electricity in the air, thunderstorms, like dry weather together with rain, perhaps. Also, not just realistically, but as a way to describe your mood, and also too much just tension in general. And that can be good if you have like a purposeful motivation and you can take all that tension and then use it to keep yourself going, to bring something new or to bring something more juicy when others receive it or hear about it. You know what I'm saying? Then what's the best way to use all this fire, all this energy, creativity, spirituality, and deep desires? It's the golden Atlantean dragon. So this means that we can use this energy, this intense fire energy, to remember and bring value to us once again, or in new ways, but as a building up process, as a progressive process. So maybe you forgot some of your value, or you stopped believing, you stopped seeing yourself as valuable. Maybe you had a talent, you had a gift, you went through a circumstance that made you feel a certain way, made you feel strong, made you feel wise, and you stop seeing that as valuable. You stop giving so much credit to those visions about yourself. And today it's a perfect opportunity to take an immense amount of fire and relight those flames, bring those awarenesses back to life, and bring more life, expand upon them, bring more reasons to believe in your goddamn self and in all possibilities in your own unique way, in your own unique processes, gifts, talents, and even curses that can help you decipher certain aspects of the world. So make sure to use your fire today, but also make sure to use the sun in Virgo so then you can know where to use that in a practical, sophisticated, efficient, and profitable way while being flexible but responsible and still responding and reacting to your structures in a creative, spiritual, unique, and consistent way. Now let's see how the Moon in Leo and Sun in Virgo fatal attraction is aligning with the rest of the natal chart. We have Mercury in the cusp of Libra and Virgo, so we are now taking our mutable or scattered ways to think, communicate, and analyze about routine, structure, and efficiency, and now we're creating new ways to think, communicate, and analyze in lighter, more relatable, sophisticated, and pretty ways that are also more connected to society and relationships. So the Moon in Leo is sextiling now this new part of Mercury, so we can have new ways to think, communicate, and analyze about our consistent or stubborn feelings that deal with individuality, creativity, and spirituality in general. And with the Sun in Virgo, we can bridge those new parts, those new alignments through mutable or scattered perspectives and actions about routines, patterns, and mutability. So you can bring more sense, you can bring a sense of correction and being grounded to more creative and spiritual emotions and to more creative and social ways to think, communicate, and analyze. Then you have Venus in Leo conjuncting the moon. So that means that today we're reacting, responding, and attracting more of relationships, commitment, pleasure, and the exchanges of energy or information that are being done, or we or others prefer it being done in a consistent or stubborn way, and about individuality, creativity, spirituality, attention, and validation. With the Sun in Virgo, it's easier for us to integrate that pleasure, that commitment, and those exchanges of energy or information into ours or others' routines, patterns, work, health, and organization through mutable or scattered actions, perspectives, and visions. Also, we have Mars in Libra sextiling the moon, fatally attracting the sun, so there is an opportunity to have more consistent or stubborn and unique creative and spiritual feelings and emotions to new ways to think, communicate, and analyze in a more sophisticated and social way our passion, frustration, anger, and motivation. And then with the Sun in Virgo, we can see, act, or express on those opportunities in a more realistic, efficient, practical, mutable, or scattered ways. Then we have Jupiter in Cancer, fatal attracting the moon in Leo, and sextiling the sun in Virgo. So this means there is an easier opportunity for us to bring new spiritual and emotional expansions, travel, wisdom, knowledge, and testimony to our internal realm if we can feel and attract things in a consistent, stubborn, spiritual, creative, unique, and individual way. And then with the sun in Virgo, we have an opportunity to see, act, and express in more practical, efficient, yet flexible ways about those new expansions that can help us feel more secure, or about those internal secure feelings that allow us to go through the expansion with an open heart, and then we feel confident and valuable enough to make that into ours and others' routines or flexible perspectives. With Saturn in Pisces, there is in conjunction with the moon and an opposition to the sun. So you might be misunderstanding your fixed emotions, feelings, and attractions that deal with spirituality and creativity with how the world is building structures, networking, and association that deals with spirituality and creativity as well. But where is the misunderstanding coming from? Coming from the depth and the purpose. Saturn in Aries has more depth, has more purpose, but also there is more illusions, more scatteredness, and more exchange, mutability, and integration of yours, other people's, and the world in general, emotions and feelings, imaginations and reactions. While Moon in Leo, it's more about you. It's a more closed, more limited emotional space. It's still about creativity and spirituality, but you need to feel a bit more authority. You need to feel more validated. You need to feel more consistent. So the misunderstanding comes from that. Saturn in Aries, Saturn in Pisces is more open, more ready to exchange, more ready to receive. While Moon in Leo has more immigration rules, quote unquote, when it comes to accepting limits and boundaries, imaginations, dreams, and illusions that can be built or were already built upon some structures, infrastructure, networking, and association. But in the middle of the misunderstanding, you can find some common ground, because if you find or attract something that makes you feel validated, unique, and have still some sense of authority about your internal realm, it's a good sign to associate with those things, even if you don't understand quite well the purpose, the depth, or how it's being associated. And then with Sun opposing Saturn, you have an opportunity to be opposed or to be balanced about your fixed and consistent feelings of authority and validation. So you can feel opposed if you see others or yourself not being able to integrate practicality and efficiency into networking and association when it comes to spirituality, dreams, and illusions, or you can feel balanced because you know or you've learned through others that you can't go too far or you shouldn't go too far to keep things balanced, to keep things going, to have structure, to have organization, and have purpose, motivation, and creativity, all in a mutable way, all in flexible or scattered ways. But remember, you must keep that feeling of authority, consistency, and quote unquote control about your creativity, individuality, and sense of pride and sense of validation. Then you have Uranus in Gemini, sextiling the moon in Taurus, squaring the sun in Virgo. So you have an opportunity to feel more consistent or stubborn when it's about uniqueness, individuality, and validation. When we are receiving, or when we are being aware of change, rebelliousness, opposition, and innovation being thought, communicated, and analyzed in mutable or flexible, logical, cold, detached, and surface level ways. And then you are also learning how to act, express, and see that change, that innovation, and that opposition in a more practical, structural, efficient, and profitable way without being too closed, without sacrificing the flexibility and the mutability about the information that you are receiving. Because it might be too surface level, it might be too quick, it might be too fast, it might feel from too far away, and you are learning how to judge what you should let into your mental and structural space that is being communicated to you from like the news, social media, everything that it's about change, opposition, and rebellion. You are learning how to integrate that into your own life, into your own routine in a practical way. And today we have a feeling of stubbornness or consistency that can be also egotistical or inspiring. Then we have Neptune in Aries, trining the moon. So we have a gift to feel more consistent, stubborn, egotistical, or spiritual about new perspectives and new feelings being derived from an archetypal generational curse, gift, dream, or nightmare, and that's in conjuncting the sun in Virgo. So, misunderstanding how to apply those new perspectives and feelings into yours and others' mutable practicality and efficiency. But today, there is a better feeling about it, there is a more consistent, uplifting, or egotistic feeling about it. And lastly but not least, Pluto in Aquarius opposing the moon and in conjuncting the sun. So you might be feeling opposed or balanced by the new transformational process that is leading you and the world into a place where it will be rewarded and in some instance necessary to have your unique mind and your unique reality, or to be associated with unique minds and unique realities. And right now you might be feeling opposed because you feel too much pressure, too much dryness, too much innovation, or you might feel balanced because you can use your attractions or your feelings of entertainment, validation, fashion, and pleasure to juice up and bring more spirituality, creativity, and humanitarianism to that process of Pluto in the Aquarius that can be too dark, too AI, too synthetic, and Moon in Leo can bring authenticity and spirituality in a relatable, consistent, and above everything else, unique and individual way. Because if you don't bring that in unique and individual way, Aquarius will reject that. And then you also might be misunderstanding how to bring that Pluto in Aquarius vibe into yours and others' practicality, responsibility, limits, boundaries, and efficiency. But today you can bring some balance, or at least a feeling of balance, a feeling of progress, because you might not be doing the right thing or perceiving the right thing physically, but spiritually, you know how to meet the Pluto in Aquarius energy halfway through, in the middle way, to help it manifest around you faster and better with focus on creativity and spirituality. That's everything for today. Thank you very much for watching. Book readings with me using the email and the IG link down below. And I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and a whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well.